If you find yourself saying, I don't have time, I wish there were more than 24 hours in a day, then this episode is for you. I'm going to give you a strategy today that's going to once and for all help you define more clearly with a lot more organization in what you're spending your time with and what to stop spending your time on so that you can get more hours of your life back. Hello, this is Melissa Dillon, and you're listening to Have More Time, a show for busy parents who truly want to build a life they love with their kids, their loved ones, and for themselves. So let's dive in. If this is your first time listening to an episode of Have More Time, welcome. I am so excited to serve you today, and thank you so much to you, whether this is your first episode or you've listened to many before, because I do value your time so much, and I love that you're here with me today. So I realize that I've published a couple of episodes all about organizing your to-do lists and how to really hone in on what you want to accomplish and how to organize all of those tasks. But I didn't even cover, how do you know? How do you even know what to spend your time on? Especially if you are a busy working parent or you have some great ambitions for yourself or for your family this year. How do you know if it's really the right thing? Have you had any feelings, especially now that we're in February when I'm recording this episode, have you had any feelings of doubt or a deep pit in your gut that something's wrong about some of the things that you're working on in your life right now? Or maybe you feel like, gosh, I really want to get to that dream goal and I haven't even had a moment to work on it. What is wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with you, and it's okay. What I'm going to do today is share with you what I did a few years back for the very first time and continue to implement in my life every time I feel like, okay, I need to step back and really look at getting more clear on my priorities. So I'll take you back to about 5 years ago or so in my life when I heard, not for the very first time, but probably the fourth or fifth, all about the 80-20 rule, which I've brought up in the past in a previous episode, so you might be a little familiar, but I'll go through it one more time just real quickly. And the 80-20 rule can basically be applied to anything, but in work, for this episode, I'll use it for that, is that 80% of the results come from 20% of the effort. And I don't know what it was that one time 5 years ago when I heard it once again that really upset me. I realized, what is the deal? I'm spending so many hours working and you're going to tell me that 80% of it is a waste of time? This just doesn't make sense to me. What is going on? And somewhere along the way, I decided I'm going to sit down and write down all the things that come to mind. I'm really going to wring out my brain and put everything on paper. So that's what I'm going to challenge you with this week, because once you get everything on paper, once you dump your brain completely of all the things you could possibly think of that's important to you, then you could start to see it, a big picture, and say, okay, now, yeah, that's not important to me. This is important to me. Yes, that's important to me. And start circling the things that are really, really important. And then you'll start to hone in on, okay, I've been spending time on all these other things that have nothing to do with these most important things. So where to start? Where you can start with really getting clarity is just take a moment. So get your pen and your paper, or you can use your notes app in your phone. However you like to take notes, it'll work no matter what. I'm personally not a paper person because even though I enjoy writing, I write a lot in my journal. When it comes to actually taking actionable steps and getting clarity on that, I found that I continually chicken scratched and felt like it was messy and would cross things out, and now it's dirty and I have to rewrite it. That was just my own shortcoming. If you find yourself feeling that way, maybe you may want to try doing this in your phone as well, in your phone notes, or in an Excel spreadsheet too. You could put your ideas on each line, and that really helps to get a quick method of organization. But whatever tool you're going to have it prepared, and then take a few minutes to just close your eyes and envision your perfect life. what does your perfect life look like? How do you feel in your perfect life? What are you doing in that perfect ideal life that you love? And when I say perfect, I mean nothing is perfect. There are always imperfections, even in the most joyful life. But what I mean is, what is defining your life? What do you do in your day-to-day in a life that you love? What are your kids doing in their day-to-day in a life that they love? What about the life you love together? What does that look like? Try to envision that. Really embody it. Think about how your heart feels right now thinking about it. Is there anything that feels like it might be standing in the way of that? So here's where you can open your eyes and just write it all down. Spend about 15 minutes writing down. Forgive the background noise, by the way. I am driving. I needed to put an episode out for you guys and realize they have to be done in the car sometimes. But where was I? So spend 15 minutes just writing down everything that you just envisioned for your life. And this isn't about what other people envision for you or putting pressure on yourself about what would other people think. We're going to take all of that out of the equation when you're doing your brain dump. This is about you and your family and what you want for them, what you feel is best for yourself, what your children and your spouse have expressed is important to them. Notice I don't say what you think is important for them. This is their life too, and they're in control of their own life. But your role is to support them. How can you support them? Dump all of that on paper or in your app or in your notes. Now, personally for me, I spent about 4 days on this. So I did a dump for about 15 minutes. And then I came back to it. Anytime something, because a lot of thoughts will start because you've initiated the thought process. Now your brain is going to start pulling things out, and you'll have some other things that may come up over the next few days that you may find are also important to you. So I don't suggest really going through and saying, okay, what's important to me, and start circling things and starring things, or start prioritizing them just yet. Don't do that today if you're just starting this today. What I suggest is allowing your brain to do its work. Allow yourself to have that space to write down as many things as you can until you feel completely at peace, knowing that your entire brain is now on paper when it comes to how you spend your time, any thoughts that come up. And all your thoughts do not have to be organized. They don't even necessarily have to be full, complete sentences. These are for you. And don't take a moment to do spelling correct if you're using your phone, and if something's misspelled. As long as you know what it says, then it's all good. Just power through without thinking. No judgment. Just write it all down. So once you've done that, you have your brain dump, then you can go through, and I suggest doing it a few days later, then go through and start going, what is really speaking to my heart right now? Where should I really be spending my time? What is most important to me? And then from there, once you have that established, where you've really isolated what's most important to you. Notice I say most important because sometimes we can't always work on all the things that are important, but what feels most important in this moment. So then once you have that, then you can go through your calendar and say, okay, how much of my life over the last 2 weeks has been aligned with what is most important? How have I supported my spouse or my children in what they've expressed is most important to them? How have I supported them too with my time? Now, the first time you do this, do not beat yourself up if you find that you're completely out of alignment. That's what this exercise is for, is to really get clear on where you're out of alignment and start pulling things as fast as you can out of your schedule. So I've talked about it. I'll link a note, link in the show notes, all the episodes having to do with with this exercise and organizing your to-do lists, because that's going to be your next step. Is once you have clarity on what is most important, then you can go in and start getting clear on, okay, what does that look like? What does the work look like to complete or be in alignment with these things that are most important? What are the actionable steps that I need to take to support my son or daughter in ballet or soccer, whatever it is that they're talking about right now that's important? What are the actionable steps that I need to take in my goal? And you could start writing down loose steps. I mean, especially if your goal is the very first time that you've ever worked on it, you may not even know what the steps are. So the very first step would be, what is the most important thing that you can do right now? The one thing that you can do right now, such that by doing it will make everything else easier or unnecessary. That's Gary Keller right there in The One Thing. If you haven't read that book, I suggest picking it up, especially because if you're having a hard time figuring out what is the next thing I'm supposed to be working on and you're overwhelmed, then if you pick up that book, that'll help you get really focused on training yourself to focus on the one thing next, the next one thing that you're supposed to work on. And I've brought up the pillars of life, or your facets of life in the past. You have your personal care and your time with your family, the time that you spend with your fun and your hobbies, the time on your work, time with friends. You're going to have different blocks of time in your calendar for each of those things. What is the one thing that you can do in each of those blocks of time to feed or fill the cup for that specific facet in your life? And that's it. So I know it's easier said than done. It does take a little practice. But if you focus on that, just getting clear, do this exercise. If you don't do this exercise, then you will continue to feel like, I don't know where to spend my time. I don't have time. Well, doing this exercise will help you make time for the things that are most important to you, and getting clear on what is most important to you. You may not even know, and it's only because you've never done this exercise before. So do this exercise and just practice continuing to use this. So this is really your brain on paper. So that way you could keep coming back to the paper, keep coming back to this list anytime you forget on what's important. And you can see very clearly, oh, this is what's important to me. And 6 months from now, some of these things are going to change. Who we are is not permanent. It doesn't need to be. We are always open for change, if that's what you want for yourself. So I hope that this helps to help you gain some clarity. And I will be covering a lot over the next several weeks too, as I continue to help you have that time to build that life that you love. Please let me know in the comments on our website, raisingkindness.org. I hope to publish all of our episodes there. And before I let you go, I have a quick little announcement that I'm going to play right now. Hi there, it's Melissa here with a quick announcement. On our website, raisingkindness.org, we just launched a new feature of asking your question. So go over to raisingkindness.org today to record your question, and it could be answered on a future episode. Now, your question could be about anything. It could be about today's topic. It could be about a previous one on another episode. It could even be about anything that you're facing in your own life that's a challenge or a problem that you're looking for a solution on your journey, your mission to building a life that you love with your family. So, does that sound good? Go ahead and go over to raisingkindness.org today and ask your question of us right now. Oh, and now back to the show. Okay, so thank you so much for listening. I really value your time. I appreciate you. Please do review if you found this message or this episode helpful, and I look forward to talking with you next time.